This is a Savage Axis 2, has an AccuTrigger in 6.5 Creedmoor. These are actually really well built actions, button rifled barrel. It's a decent action. The biggest downfall to this rifle, the way that it is the stock. It'd be perfect for hunting, but for a long range precision application, it's not really ideal, I guess. And I'll show you why. I'll show you why we're going to do what we're going to do here. You guys are going to have to bear with me. I don't have very good lighting down here. I'm just using a phone, and my workshop, my gun room here is absolutely full of junk, so you're going to have to bear with me. Anyway, we'll see what we can put together here. So anyway, one of the big things we're going to do to this, we're going to change the stock out. I have bought an MDT rifle chassis style stock for precision shooting. We're going to put a trigger kit in it. We're going to change out the bolt handle. We're going to mount a Picatinny rail and a Discovery scope designed for long range shooting. Anyway, the biggest downfall with this stock is it's a budget rifle, so it is what it is, but they're just not very quality, I guess, and I'll show you why. Just bear with me. I'm going to set the rifle up on the bench like this, and I'm going to kind of show you what I mean. So this barrel is supposed to be what they call a free-floating barrel. That actually means that nothing touches the barrel under the stock. I can take this piece of paper, if I bend it around the barrel, it should slide right up, which it does, but there's spots underneath where I can definitely feel that it's touching the barrel. You can actually see right here on the side, if you look at the right side of the barrel, there's a big gap. There's none on this side. The stock actually moves. I can take my thumb and I can push that stock over and close that gap up, see? So for long range, that's not ideal. Hot days, the plastic will warp and touch the barrel, and at long range that will definitely affect accuracy. Changes the barrel harmonics, believe it or not, and you just don't get accuracy out of it. So again, you can see it. This will not happen when we swap the stock out and put the MDT rifle chassis style stock on. So we're going to go ahead and swap this out. We'll put it back on the bench. There's two screws that hold the barrel and the receiver to the stock. We're going to go ahead and take those out. The bolt's already out. We're going to remove the two screws and start swapping some stuff over. I'm going to go ahead and take the magazine out. Bolt's already been removed. Two screws right there will take the action in the barrel right off the existing stock. So we're going to go ahead and take those out. They should come out fairly easy. There's one. There's the other one. Now this should all separate and come apart. So there we have it. That is the action trigger group and barrel removed from the Savage Axis stock. Okay, so this is the MDT chassis that I have. This is the Oryx model. It's one of their entry-level rifle chassis. You can get it for around $500 to $600. It is all aluminum with a ton of adjustment in it. So where the Savage stock was plastic, this one has an aluminum fore-end, so we don't get that flex that the factory stock has. Anyway, there's a ton of adjustment on this guy. The cheek piece is fully adjustable up and down. The length of pull fully adjustable, so you can get a good fit when you are adjusting it for yourself. One thing that this stock has. It takes AICS magazine, so you get rid of the crappy Savage magazine too. It's made to take a polymer magazine, 5 round, 10 round. You can get whatever you want. Anyway, I'm gonna go ahead and try to put that barreled action in there and get the screws torqued up. MDT supplies new screws. They actually tell you right in their instructions that they want you to torque them to 60 inch-pounds. So I've got a torque screwdriver there. It's a 3/16 hex bit. I'm going to go ahead and get everything set up and try to get them torqued down. One thing that I've noticed, if you've never done this before, right here I have my old Savage stock. This little piece here is the recoil lug. So you have to take that out of your old stock, make sure that it comes out, and it actually goes underneath of the barrel, like so. And it is made to fit in a slot in the MDT stock, which is right there. So once that seats down into the recoil lug, it just prevents movement back and forth. So you have to make sure that that comes out of your old stock before you get ready to torque that down into the new chassis. So I'm going to set up here and see if I can get it on camera, but I can't make any promises. We'll see what we can do. So I'm going to take that chassis, I'm going to put the recoil lug in the chassis like that. It just drops down in the slot, and then I'll put the barreled action down in, drop it down in. You can actually see where the recoil lug is going to sit. That all actually looks pretty good. There it is. Okay. Get the screws started and then tighten everything up. Okay, we'll go ahead with the torque screwdriver and we'll torque these to 60 inch-pounds, just like the instructions say. Go. Done. Okay, so now that we got the barreled action all torqued down in the chassis, I have an MDT scope base to put on. It's a 30 MOA Picatinny rail. This is it here. So when you're shooting long range, a lot of times, or a common issue, I guess, on a regular scope, is that you'll run out of adjustment when you start shooting out 900 meters. Your scope will not have enough elevation to get out that far. The scope that I have chosen to put on here, which I'll show you later, it's made by Discovery Optics, and it's got tons of adjustment. But just to be safe, this is right on the package. It's a 30 MOA Picatinny rail. So basically, this scope rail will be mounted on this way, and it actually has 30 minutes of angle of adjustment built into the scope rail. So basically what that means is the scope rail is tilted on the gun like this when it's mounted. That's quite an exaggeration, but so you know what I mean. It's mounted on an angle so that the crosshairs of the scope are pointing down farther, which will give you more elevation adjustment. So it's basically a rail that's made to give you some elevation. So we're going to go ahead and open that up, and we're going to put that on with the screws that they provide. There, so they're all torqued down. And like I said before, if you look at that rail, you can actually see how it is thicker on this end, tapers down on that end, so it kind of sits on an angle like this to give you a little bit more elevation adjustment. So we're going to get busy here and mount some rings, and then we'll talk about the scope. So this is the scope that I've decided to go with for my project here. I spent a few days doing some research. Originally, I was going to go with a lower magnification Vortex scope, and I decided not to. After days of reading reviews and watching YouTube videos, I decided to go with this guy. This is made by Discovery Optics. It's their entry-level precision long-range scope. It is a 5-25 by 56 millimeter objective. It has a huge objective lens in it, and it has a 34 millimeter tube. So most of your hunting rifles and whatnot will have a 1-inch diameter tube. They do make a 30 millimeter. This one's a 34. It's huge. It has a ton of adjustment. The adjustment turrets are very crisp. I don't know if you can hear this. The adjustments are very, very fine. Windage elevation. On the other side, there's actually a parallax adjustment, which will adjust for clarity at different yardages from 25 right out to infinity. It also has an illuminated reticle with 6 or 7 different brightness settings. Came standard with the magnification throw lever, which is a nice option. It's just easier to turn that magnification ring. Came with flip-up lens covers on each end. Also came with this lens cleaning brush. Its own scope leveling kit. Just a little index card here. A 34 millimeter scope level. So that goes on the tube after everything's mounted, and it will tell you whether you have the rifle twisted or not. You can have a quick look and tell if you're level or if the rifle's canted. This was quite impressive, I thought. This is a quality control checklist. It literally goes through everything for the entire scope and is stamped and signed off by one person at Discovery Optics. Very well put together scope, I thought, for the money. This was about $700 or so delivered to the door. Free shipping in Canada. I bought it from Canada Precision. I think after all my research, this was the best choice for what I want to do. It's by no means a fancy scope, but for entry-level precision shooting, I think this is the way to go. Those scope rings, again, are extremely high quality, and they are machined for this particular scope. I tried lapping the scope rings. Normally when I mount a scope, I always lap the scope rings. There's really no need to with this. I did put a tiny bit of lapping compound in the rings, but they are so finely machined to fit this particular scope that it was literally doing nothing. I found that these rings had almost 100% contact with the scope tube right from the get-go, so that's a huge selling feature. The rings are very well marked. It specifically tells you right on the rings to torque everything to 25 inch-pounds. So that's what we did. We're going to go ahead and get this thing leveled up. We're going to level it up in the gun vise and get the scope mounted where we want and torque everything down. I start out with a small bubble level, which I put across the Picatinny rail. Just ensures we're good left to right. Then I move along, I take a larger bubble level, and I set that level. I bridge the two bottom sections of the scope rings with the second level, make sure that we're leveled up front to back. Once everything's looking good there, I will put the scope in the scope rings in the bottom section. I'll put the top sections of the rings on and very gently snug the screws up, and I will move that level to the turret of the scope, and I will turn it until it is level before I torque the screws down. Okay, so the scope is mounted. The rifle is in the rifle vise. It's level front to back, side to side, almost perfectly. The scope is in the rings. Everything is torqued down. I put a small bubble level on the rail itself and another one across the top of the turret, as you can see. A lot of people argue with that. That's where your crosshairs are. I don't care what anybody says. That's makes the most sense to level it there. I've went ahead and installed this scope level. That's going to be a permanent fixture on this gun. But I just want to show you kind of how I go about leveling. So there's a small bubble level that's sitting across the top of the rail there. As you can see, it's hard to tell, I guess, but it's almost perfect in there. So we know the rail is level side to side. There's the turret, side to side. There's the actual scope level, side to side. So everything is torqued down, tightened up. All three levels are looking good. That is how I level a scope. I do have one more test that I do, and I will show you that here shortly. This was very hard to get on my camera, but basically what I do is I leave my rifle completely leveled up in the rifle vise, and I use a self-leveling laser level, and I shoot a beam across my basement, which is about 10 yards, and I will set that rifle on the beam and look through the scope and make sure that everything is lined up at 10 yards. If it's off any at all, you can pretty much tell if it's off square from the laser level. Works really well. Just a couple of things left here. I got a brand new MDT polymer AICS magazine. Going to put that in, open that up and put that in, and I did get the MDT bipod. I had originally bought a Caldwell bipod for this, but I just didn't care for it after I seen the MDT. So I bought the MDT. It's fully adjustable and very easily attaches. It just fits up here in this M-LOK channel, which is built right into the bottom of the rifle chassis. So anyway, I'm going to go ahead and get that mounted up. I'm going to set the camera here, and hopefully you guys can kind of see what I'm doing. That very simply just fits into the M-LOK and then tightens down with a couple screws. M-LOK's very easy to work with. You can put any kind of accessories on here you could ever imagine. Rails, lights, whatever you need. Just give that a quick turn, and it is on there. To the front. That is good. All right, there it is. We're gonna set it up, see what it looks like. The MDT Oryx chassis. We have the Discovery Optics 5-25 by 56 scope, AICS magazine, scope level, and the Oryx bipod. You can see on this one how much room there is around that barrel. Nothing's touching that. There's like a 1/2 inch the whole way around that thing. That's what it's supposed to look like.